Imagine for a second that there's a golden ticket.
Right.
It's shiny, it's coveted, and for thousands of professionals out there, it is the ultimate dream. A legal, stable path to working in Canada.
But there's always a but.
There is always a massive but, and in this case, getting that ticket means navigating what is, I think, arguably the most scrutinized obstacle course in the entire Canadian immigration system.
It's definitely less of a ticket line and more of a regulatory minefield. We're talking about a process where one single missed day of record keeping, it can shut the whole thing down.
Yeah.
Instantly.
And that is exactly what we are unpacking today. We're doing a deep dive using source material from Dara Immigration Services, specifically their 2026 guide to the Canadian LMIA-based work permit.
It's a great guide.
It is. And we should set the scene. It's January 2026. The rules have tightened, caps are back, and the government is watching everything. So if you're a business owner desperate for staff or, a talented person looking for a way in, this deep dive is for you.
It's a really timely discussion. The landscape has shifted a lot, especially with the return of those processing caps for low-wage jobs. But I think the most important place to start is it's a mindset shift.
A mindset shift? How so?
Well, most people hear work permit and they think it's about the worker.
Right. Like it's me, the worker, applying for my permit to go work.
It seems logical, but it's completely wrong. The LMIA is an employer application. The golden ticket isn't for the person wanting to move here. It's for the Canadian company that wants to hire them. And that changes everything.
So the worker is almost secondary, at least at the start.
In phase one, absolutely. The government isn't even looking at the worker yet. They're interrogating the business. They're asking the employer, prove to us why you can't hire someone local.
Okay, let's unpack this acronym because it sounds like a government mouthful. LMIA, Labor Market Impact Assessment. What does that actually mean in plain English?
Think of it as a permission slip from the government.
A permission slip.
Yeah, specifically from Employment and Social Development Canada, or ESDC. Before an employer can hire a temporary foreign worker, they have to prove that no Canadian worker is available to do that job.
So it's basically a protectionist test. The government is asking, are you sure you couldn't find a Canadian for this?
Exactly. And the result of that test is the LMIA decision. You're hoping for a positive LMIA.
And that means?
That confirms there's a real labor shortage and hiring this person won't hurt the local market. But if you get a negative LMIA, the officer is basically saying, no, we think a Canadian could have done this, or maybe they think the job offer isn't even real.
And if you get a negative, that's it. Game over.
Pretty much. The process stops right there. Now, if you get the positive LMIA, you move to the second part of what I like to call the two-step tango.
I like that. So step one is the employer proving the need. What's step two?
Step two is when the worker finally comes in. Once the employer has that positive LMIA document, then the worker takes it and applies to immigration or RCIC for the actual work permit.
So the LMIA is the key that unlocks the door for the work permit application. It's the prerequisite.
Correct. And here's where it gets really important for the worker. This whole thing results in a closed work permit.
Closed sounds restrictive.
It is. Very. A closed work permit ties you to that specific employer for that specific job at that specific location. You can't just quit and go work for the competitor down the street.
Wow. So you're really married to that job. That's a huge commitment. If things go south, the worker is in a really tough spot.
They are. To change jobs, the new employer has to start this entire process over. A new LMIA, a new work permit, it is not a quick switch.
Okay, now in the Dara Immigration Guide, I saw there isn't just one type of LMIA. It's more like a choose-your-own-adventure based on salary.
That is the single determining factor. It all comes down to the wage you're offered compared to the provincial median wage.
And since we're in 2026, those numbers have gone up. The guide says in BC, it's around, what, $36.60 an hour?
Right, and in Alberta, it's about $36. So as an employer, you look at that number. If you're paying at or above it, you're in the high wage stream. If you're paying below it, you're in the low wage stream. And the experience is vastly different.
Let's start with the high wage stream. I'm guessing if you're paying more, the government is a little friendlier.
A little bit. Processing is generally faster, maybe 30 to 50 days. And if you're hiring for a really high-paying role, top 10%, there's even a 10-day expedited option.
A fast lane. You don't see that much in bureaucracy.
You don't, but there's a catch. You have to submit a transition plan.
A transition plan, what's that?
You have to explain to the government how you're going to eventually hire a Canadian for this role. You can't rely on foreign labor forever.
So, are you going to train locals? recruit at universities?
Exactly. You need a real plan to reduce your reliance on the program. They want to know you're trying to fix the problem long term.
Okay, let's flip the coin. The low-wage stream. This sounds like where it gets messy.
This is the danger zone. If you're paying below the median, the scrutiny is way higher. Processing takes longer, 40 to 70 days. But the biggest hurdle is the cap.
The cap, a limit on how many people you can hire.
Exactly. An employer can only have about 10% to 20% of their total workforce come from the low-wage stream. You can't build your entire business model on cheap foreign labor.
And the guide had this 2026 update that really stood out. Processing is actually paused in some places.
This is a huge deal. If you're in a city where unemployment is high, say 6% or more, ESDC just won't process low-wage applications.
So a restaurant in a city with high unemployment can't use this program for line cooks at all.
Correct. Their logic is go hire the people who are already there. The guide does note, though, that processing has started again in places like Vancouver and Halifax, where unemployment has dropped below 6%. So your local economy is critical.
That is so specific. You really have to know your local data.
Yeah.
Okay, what about the other two streams, the global talent stream?
Yes, the Ferrari of LMIAs. This is for specialized IT and tech roles. If you qualify, the processing standard is just 14 days.
2 weeks, that's lightning fast.
It is. But again, the employer has to commit to something, this time a labor market benefits plan.
Which sounds a lot like the transition plan.
Similar, but it's more about growth. You have to show how hiring this foreign tech genius will help create jobs for Canadians.
Got it. And the last one was dual intent.
Right. This is for workers already on the path to permanent residence. And the interesting detail here is the freebie. If the LMIA is only used to get points for their PR application, the government fee is $0.
$0.
Yep. But if they use it for a work permit too, then the regular fee applies. It's a nice little perk for people already in the system.
Okay, so we've got the streams now.
Yeah.
The actual battle. The guide calls it the recruitment campaign. And reading it, it sounds like a trap designed to make you fail.
It is the main hurdle. The source says this is where 80% of refusals happen.
80%?
Yeah.
That's huge. What are employers getting so wrong?
Well, they're posting the jobs, but they aren't following the 4-week rule strictly enough. Ads have to run for at least 4 straight weeks before you apply. And this is the kicker. They have to stay live until you get a decision.
And you can't just post it on a telephone pole, right?
Last. Definitely not. You have to use the government job bank. That's mandatory. Plus 2 other places like Indeed or LinkedIn. But here's the part that catches everyone. The screenshot trap.
This blew my mind. Tell us about the screenshots.
You'd think there'd be a better way, but no. You have to prove the ads were running on specific days, and they want visual proof. You need to take screenshots of the ads on day 1, day 14, and day 28.
Wait. So if I forget to take a screenshot on day 14, I could lose the whole application.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
If ESDC asks for proof and you don't have that date-stamped screenshot, they can refuse you. A single missed day can ruin months of work.
That is just so stressful. It feels like they're looking for a technicality.
They basically are. The default answer is no, unless you prove yes. And it goes beyond dates. The ad content, too. If you post a salary range, say $25 to $35, but then offer the foreign worker $25.
The bottom of the range.
Right. That's often a refusal. It's seen as misleading to Canadians who might have applied thinking they could get $35.
I want to touch on something else from the guide. The owner-operator situation.
Oh, this is a huge area of confusion. A few years ago, this was a popular way in.
The idea being, I'll move to Canada, buy a business, and then hire myself as the CEO.
Exactly. I'll issue my own LMIA. But the government cracked down hard. The guide is clear. They check for business legitimacy. If you own more than 50% of the company, you generally can't get an LMIA to hire yourself.
So you can't just buy your way into a job.
No. They want a genuine employee relationship. The employer has to be able to fire the worker. You can't really fire yourself, can you?
That makes sense. It stops it from being pay to play. Speaking of paying, let's talk money. Who pays for all this?
Yeah. This is a critical legal point. The employer pays the $1,000 LMIA government fee. The employer pays for the ads, maybe another $300 to $800.
And the worker?
The worker just pays the work permit fee, about $155, and that's only after the LMIA is approved.
Okay, big question, and the guide had a bold warning on this. Can the employer ask the worker to pay back that $1,000?
Absolutely not. It is illegal. I can't stress this enough. If an employer is caught doing that, the LMIA gets revoked, and they face huge fines. It's considered exploitation.
So if you're a listener And a potential boss
Yeah.
asks you for that $1,000.
That is a giant neon red flag. Run the other way.
Okay, so let's say the employer does everything right. Ads, screenshots, fees, they hit submit. Is it over?
Not yet. There's often one last challenge, the interview call.
A phone interview.
Yes. An ESDC officer will often call the employer directly, and they'll ask very pointed questions like, why couldn't the Canadian applicant do this job?
Puts the employer right on the spot.
It does.
Yeah.
And you need a good answer. The Canadian lacked the 5 years of experience with this specific software listed in the ad. It has to be objective, not, oh, I just like the other guy better.
So you actually have to interview the Canadians who apply.
You must interview anyone who looks even remotely qualified, and you have to keep detailed notes on why you rejected them.
It really is a minefield. But let's look at the upside. Why go through all this? What's in it for the worker besides the job itself?
It's their foothold in Canada. And for permanent residents, even though some direct job offer points were removed in 2025, an LMIA job is still incredibly powerful.
How so? If the points are gone?
It's the secondary effects. First, you get Canadian work experience. After a year, your points for express entry jump up. Second, this is the big one, it can qualify you for a provincial nominee program nomination, a PNP.
And a PNP nomination is basically the holy grail for points, right?
It gives you 600 points in express entry.
And with the cutoff usually around 500, those 600 points are basically a guarantee.
Exactly. So the LMIA is often the bridge that gets you to permanence.
So if you had to summarize this whole thing for someone, what would you say?
I'd say that LMIA is a high-stakes, high-reward process. It requires perfect timing, strict compliance. It's a serious business investment, not something you do casually.
And it's still not a guarantee.
No. Even with a positive LMIA, the immigration officer can still say no to the worker. The LMIA is the employer's permission. The worker still has to pass their own checks.
It really brings up this tension, doesn't it? On one hand, you have businesses desperate for people. On the other, a government trying to protect local jobs.
That's the core conflict. The process is designed to be difficult. That's a feature, not a bug. It's a minefield of compliance on purpose to prove that the golden ticket isn't free, it's earned.
And as we move through 2026 with these new caps and stricter rules, that golden ticket is only getting harder to find. It really makes you appreciate the workers who make it through.
Absolutely. It's a complex system, but when it works, it bridges a vital gap.
Well, that's all the time we have for this deep dive. Hopefully we've demystified the LMIA for you a little bit. Check those dates, keep those screenshots, and good luck.
Stay informed.
Thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.